a brilliant meat cooking trick everyone should know. I'll start here by cutting the potatoes. I have about 2 pounds of peeled potatoes here. I'll cut them into smaller pieces to make cooking easier. Since we're preparing a delicious meat and potatoes recipe, it's a simple recipe made in a way that turns out really flavorful. So I'll keep chopping all the potatoes here. Now I place the potatoes into the pot. Next, I add the water. The water is already hot. I preheated it to make the cooking process faster. Now I just cover and let the potatoes boil for about 15 minutes. Meanwhile, in a bowl, I add about 2 pounds of ground beef. I mix in 1 grated onion, 1 whole egg, and 1 cup of breadcrumbs. And we're going to season the meat well too. I add 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now I mix everything well with my hands until fully combined. With the meat well seasoned, we move to the next step. I place the meat on a sheet of parchment paper, and I spread it out with my hands, smoothing it out evenly. I've already spread out all the meat, and it looks like this. Now I take this cooling rack, and I press it onto the meat to make the markings. Just press gently. This way, the cuts come out even. I've made all the markings with the rack. Now just remove the pieces carefully. I remove them slowly to avoid breaking them. They'll all be the same size and nice and even. Now let's assemble our recipe. The potatoes are cooked and drained. Now we'll make mashed potatoes and season them. I add 1 tablespoon of butter and 1 teaspoon of salt. I also add a pinch of black pepper. I mash everything well until smooth and creamy. And finally, I add some chopped parsley. We set the mashed potatoes aside and prepare a sauce for the recipe. Now let's make the sauce. Here I have about 3½ ounces of tomato sauce. I add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I add a pinch of salt and 1 teaspoon of dried oregano. We mix everything well until nicely combined. That gives us a flavorful and aromatic sauce. Now let's assemble the final dish. I drizzle a bit of oil on the bottom of a baking dish. I spread it well with a brush to coat the base. Then I add the mashed potatoes. I add it little by little and spread it out evenly. I distribute the mashed potatoes to cover the whole bottom of the dish. I make sure it's even and well distributed. Now that it's all set, I continue smoothing it to level the surface. Then I add the sauce on top of the mashed potatoes. And now I place the pieces of meat on top. Carefully, I take the pieces and arrange them over the sauce, covering the entire top of the dish. It's important to place them in an orderly way. This recipe turns out delicious, and it also has a beautiful presentation, perfect to serve at a special family meal. I kept adding the meat until all the space was filled. Don't forget to cover the corners too. With the remaining sauce, I brush the entire surface of the meat. I've spread the sauce all over. Now I cover it with aluminum foil. I seal all the edges well. That way, we keep the moisture in while baking. Everything is sealed and ready to go in the oven. Perfect. We place it in a preheated oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. After that, I add the cheese on top and return it to the oven. For 10 more minutes, just to melt and brown the cheese. I've already taken our dish out of the oven. Now I'll cut a piece to show how it turned out. Inside, it's juicy, golden, and very appetizing, with an amazing flavor, soft and well-balanced.